West Pleasant Grove Road and the collector where you indicated 926 in the collector. So I just want to confirm we're looking at the right exhibit.
And I apologize, the exhibit list provided by Mr. Adelman says that D is Collector Road and 926. So I believe I mean, let's see.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so let's do C then, which is Connector Road in West Pleasant Grove near the church.
Yes, and that's what is depicted on the screen.
Thank you.
Yep.
So again, I asked the same question. Are you confident that the extent of regrading necessary to achieve adequate site distance is confined to applicant's land and the right-of-way of the road?
Based on the preparation of this exhibit, which accounts for the applicant's widening on West Pleasant Grove Road, there is no indication that regrading or reprofiling of the roadway is necessary here to achieve site distance.
Doesn't the required sight line cross through property owned by the church?
It does.
So would some sort of easement, sight line easement from the church be needed in order to achieve the acceptable site distance?
Yes, it would be.
And that would be something the applicant would have to negotiate with the church for?
And it is my understanding that the applicant has already discussed that with the owner of the church property.
You were present, as I said earlier, at the Planning Commission meetings where these various plans were proposed, correct? And presented, excuse me.
Various plans indicating which plans?
The plans mainly that you're showing tonight, and there was also an alternative plan that was presented to the Planning Commission.
So I will note I attended some of the Planning Commission meetings, but I did not attend all of the Planning Commission meetings, only the evenings where traffic was the topic.
Could we put Exhibit 847 up, which is the overall conditional use plan, lot layout plan? And I have a hard time reading the not Road K, but it looks like it's been sometimes referred to as Road M, sometimes it's referred to as Road N. Okay, on this plan it's Road M. Are you familiar with the fact that the Planning Commission supported the elimination of Road M?
I am familiar with that comment, yes.
And do you have any concerns from a traffic safety or access standpoint if in fact the applicant were to eliminate Road M? Excuse me.
Sure. There is no traffic concern with providing or eliminating Road M. There may be other reasons that Road M is necessary, but from a traffic accommodation and safety standpoint, its provision or elimination can be accommodated.
Okay. And when preparing, well, I guess you didn't prepare the site plans, but some of the profile plans, and just generally your knowledge of West Pleasant Grove Road, did you analyze the condition of the trees along West Pleasant Grove Road?
It is not within the scope of my work to analyze trees.
Okay. Give me 1 minute, please. You testified early on that PennDOT has jurisdiction over the intersections of obviously where there's a PennDOT road. Are you familiar with the conditional use requirement that the applicant must demonstrate that the use will not result in or substantially add a significant traffic hazard or significant traffic congestion?
Yes, I'm familiar with that requirement.
And you're also familiar with the requirement in the conditional use standards that the peak traffic generated by the proposed development must be accommodated in a safe and efficient manner?
Yes, I'm familiar with that requirement.
Would you agree with me then that some of the what you call off-site improvements or intersection improvements to PennDOT roads would have to be done in order to meet those two standards?
No, I believe it is the intent of PennDOT's mitigation criteria to satisfy those requirements. And as testified to, we are satisfying those requirements and providing off-site improvements above and beyond those requirements.
Well, the intersection of New Street and 926 is not an off-site improvement, correct?
The intersection of 926 and New Street.
Objection. That calls for a legal conclusion.
Well, you're proposing improvements to that intersection, are you not?
Greg. I didn't know if you were going to respond.
I thought that was a follow-up question to Nicole. I apologize.
It was a question, Nicole.
Yes, the applicant does propose improvements at 926 and New Street.
And ultimately, whatever PennDOT determines is needed for that intersection, as well as any of the other PennDOT intersections we reference, will be determined through PennDOT, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
The plans that you presented as exhibits A48, A through C, which the first one is 926 and South New Street, B was 202 Skiles and Stetson, and 48C was 202 southbound turn lane. None of those plans have been approved by PennDOT yet, correct?
They have been reviewed by PennDOT. We addressed their comments, and they are at a point of conceptual design that PennDOT is agreeable to. The PennDOT process is to go through the traffic impact study, to do conceptual plans with, high-level review and, not permits, but then at that stage, once there is concurrence on the improvements based on conceptual design, then you would go into the detailed engineering. All of the detailed engineering is required before PennDOT would issue permits. That is the process. So we are at a stage where PennDOT has agreed with the conceptual design.
An applicant is willing to make those improvements provided PennDOT approves the same and whatever right-of-way is needed can be acquired, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. In Mr. Haney's email of June 17th, which is marked A53, he alludes to potentially eliminating the need for the applicant to provide a westbound right turn lane from 926 to New Street. How would that impact your conclusions about access and traffic congestion if that was something that the applicant provided on their site plan, correct?
That is correct, but it is not required in accordance with PennDOT's mitigation criteria. It was an offering of the applicant above and beyond. So PennDOT has indicated and agreed that that's not required, and if it helps to decrease the footprint of the intersection, then PennDOT would approve that lane being eliminated from the plan.
So is it your testimony that right turn lane is not needed to reduce a traffic hazard or traffic congestion?
It is not in accordance with PennDOT criteria, which rules at that intersection.
Exhibit A59 is something you prepared. That's the West Pleasant Grove road widening, correct?
Exhibit A59 was prepared by ESE.
Okay, so that, if you know, would what's shown on Exhibit A59 ultimately have to make its way onto Exhibit A47?
Again, I did not prepare this plan or A47, so ESE would be appropriate to answer that question.
Right, but you testified tonight about, the widening that would be needed for West Pleasant Grove in order to comply with ordinance standards, did you not?
Yes,
And that's what A59 is intended to show.
that is correct.
Okay. So the applicant is willing to implement what's shown on Exhibit A59, provided it comports with the township traffic engineer.
Correct.
Ms. Camp, it's a little after 9. I don't want to cut you off if you know how much more questioning you'll have.
I believe I'm done. I am completed. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Certainly, Kristen. Good timing.
All right, so we are at 9 o'clock. Ms. Camp has finished her questioning for the evening. Unless the board suggests otherwise, I'm going to recommend that we wrap up for this evening and we would move to questioning by all the other parties starting at the next hearing.
Agreed, Pat.
Okay. All right, so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to stand in continuance until 7 o'clock on September 14th. Again, it's anticipated this time that the hearing will be via Zoom unless the pandemic situation improves drastically, which I don't expect. We will have all of the Zoom information go out via listserv, be posted on the township website, and will be mailed out to the parties in due course prior to the hearing.
Sure it will.
So unless there's anything further, we will conclude the hearing for this evening and go off the record.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much for your cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
There's many exhibits that I don't have, and I'm not sure. Is the rest of the board here to comment on that? Do you guys have all the exhibits that were mentioned tonight?
I asked if I could get from Jody the ones that were covered tonight, and so I do have those on my iPad. Yeah.
Well, that's been delivered by Mr. Edelman. So these are all exhibits tonight that Greg had copied and sent to the township prior.
Yeah. So I got those.
But not the ones that you just delivered me, right? In that packet
Yeah, those are just board exhibits. That's correct.
That's different.
later, but I don't seem to have any of the 30s, 40s, and 50s exhibits. So,
For Greg or the board?
excuse me?
Greg's exhibits or the board's exhibits?
Greg's. I've done a Greg's exhibits.
Oh, okay. I thought that had been copied and provided to you all some time ago. I thought there was a black and white copy that had been provided. Was at the township building.
Well, I'll look through my files and see, but they weren't in my book, and I didn't have them in the packet, and so
Well, clearly,
I'm like,
Carol, if not, then we can track down, we can print them for you, or Mila can off the township website, because they're all there.
yeah, I may have to go over and see what I'm missing if somebody has some of the hard copies there. I'll deal with it offline here.
Thank you for letting me know. We good?
Yep.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot. Take care, Pat. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye, good night.
Thanks, Mila.